Hey everybody, we are going to be working with a fall swag tonight. All right, so as I'm trying to make some sense of my table here, what we're going to be working with is a work rail. And this, I believe, is a 24-inch rail. That's actually a 22-inch rail. So we're going to be using this cute little guy I just picked up at Hobby Lobby today. Absolutely love him. Love, love, love him. I love the colors, and he's adorable. So he's going to be worked into our design, our rail. We're going to be using some 21-inch mesh, which I had to pick up at Hobby Lobby because, well, just because. We're going to be using up definitely this pumpkin and maybe more, and a variety of ribbons and some florals. So let's get started with the rail and set this little guy off to the side. Okay, so I picked out a variety of ribbon, and who knows what we'll end up using. I went shopping on the shelves. I love the shopping. Okay, so let me tell you about our work rail. So this one has, I believe, let's see, 1, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12 twist ties. So this one has got 12 twist ties. And one thing with the rails is if these, where they join right here on these metal clips, if they're sliding around, take a pair of pliers and tighten them down, because you don't want them shifting, because what will happen is once you add your mesh, it's going to continue to shift. And so after your design is done, you have the possibility of it moving around. So if they're loose, tighten them down, or take a dab of glue and just secure them so they're not shifting around, okay? So we're gonna go ahead and open these up, and you'll notice that they're staggered. So there's one next to the joint here on this side, and then on the opposite side, they are in between. All right. Let's get started. So for this, what we're going to do is start out with a 21-inch mesh today. I'm going to take our 21-inch mesh and I'm going to fold it over towards me, and I'm just going to gather that up and make my first loop. So we're going to add that right here on this edge, where the tie is closest to the end. So I'm going to fit that right down in there, and I fold it over so that that raw edge is inside and it's not exposed, less chance of fraying. So I'm just camouflaging that basically and putting that right in there. Make sure that you push your mesh all the way to the frame as tight as you can, and give your twist ties a couple of good twists. So what I do from there is I measure this out, I skip this one, and I go over to this one. So I'm over here, and I do it kind of loosely, and then I pull back. So that's my measurement, that's the size of my loop. So it's about 8 inches, right? Yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4, 4.5, 5 inches per square. So, but that's what I use to measure. Is I just take this, skip that one, go over here, and then push back. So we're going to do that all the way to the end. So for this time, for this one, I'm just going to kind of guesstimate and measure out. And I'm getting all bundled up here. All right, so now on this end, what I'm going to do is I'm going to do another loop, another poof, and I'm going to bring it back and I'm going to put it right in this same loop, the same twist tie. So we're going to have a poof hanging off the edge there, right? So this one's going to actually have two tied into the same twist tie. Now, as I turn this back around, I'm going to estimate again, but I want this one to come out to about even with this one. And no worries, this does not have to be perfect, and I'll show you why here in just a few minutes, because we're actually going to add more mesh to this. So I want these to be about the same length. And then I'm going to do the same thing on this edge that I did on the opposite end. And I'm going to bring that poof out. So that they're uniform on this edge as well. Pumpkins, pumpkin, pumpkin. She's been so busy making pumpkins. Now, because of the fact that, and we're actually going to add more mesh to this, but right now you can see through this, right? So there's these empty spots in the center. So just to kind of fill it up a little bit more, and there is no rule with this, I'm actually going to take my mesh and I'm going to jump over here to this one. And I'm only doing this to fill in so that it doesn't look so bare in the center. There is no measurement for it. It's just basically I'm filling in, and it's all going to get covered up. There's my other side. So as we end here, I am going to actually cut this off, and I'm going to tuck it down behind it. So I'm going to cut it a little long, and I'm going to go back and tuck him inside of this poof right here. So it kind of, again, it camouflages it, but it also decreases the risk of it fraying more because it's now protected by this poof. All right, step one. Step two is, oh good, okay. Take your fall color, so whatever colors you choose to use, and I'm gonna pick out a couple of here. And right, so we're going to cut 20-inch strips. So now what we're going to do is we're going to take these and we're going to ruffle them up. And we're going to add a ruffle into each one of our twist ties. So we'll add a ruffle. And since I only have a few of the green ones, I'm actually going to think about strategically where I'm going to put those so it kind of all coordinates together. So now, look how full that is already. So we've added more mesh, more mesh. All right, so now, so we're actually going to add this pumpkin into our swag. And incorporate him. And I'm trying to figure out where. I think I like that placement pretty well. So, of course, he's made out of foam. This can get a little tricky because he, but I want him so that his stem is kind of out. So I'm going to puncture. Where is my skewers? Believe it or not, it is one of the handiest tools, a shish kebab skewer, in my craft room ever. So I'm going to puncture this guy, and I'm going to feed that all the way through, just like that. So now I have some holes, some pilot holes. Ta-da! Look how easy I made that. Look, I even surprised myself with that one. And I always have way too much wire, but that's okay. I'm actually going to secure that a little bit right there. And I don't want him shifting around. I don't want him getting shifty on me. So I'm going to glue that there. Glue it there. Y'all, I use this because I don't want to get burned. All right, so now we're going to attach this to our rail. And I'm going to feed those wires down inside of that. Brenda. So I'm going to tie him down with our wire, and then I'm probably going to use a little extra glue underneath that. Hush up, Miss Andrea, troublemaker. All right, so put this on, my battery on, turn that puppy on, and I'm going to add some glue right behind him and glue him down a little more so that he doesn't wiggle. Our little scarecrow is going to be kind of sitting right next to him. Let me take off my price tag. So he's going to sit next to the pumpkin. So we also need to do some operating on him. All right, so I've attached him in 2 different places. Here's what he looks like so far. So he's a little bit above our pumpkin, and of course his legs will dangle as he goes. He's actually on there pretty darn tight, but to help with stability, I'm gonna do a little bit of mechanics, and I'm gonna put some glue here and kind of glue his hip to the side of the pumpkin, just to kind of help more the pumpkin than anything. So I'm holding this so the glue sets, but we're gonna add our sign next. While I'm holding on to this, I'll show you. So we're gonna put our sign right up in here, and I'm gonna bring it down just a smidge because I just want a little bit of this coming through right about in there. Give him just another minute to cool off. Okay, I think he's pretty stable. So now I'm going to feed my pipe cleaners down through a mesh and attach our rail, attach it to our rail. My job. We're going to set him aside. I don't know which side. And we're going to pull out and I brought out some ribbon because I couldn't make up my mind. And when you look at our little guy over here on the left, a lot of this all coordinates. So I just have to come to those decisions. I love that. I love it all. So we're just going to pick out 5. I'm pretty sure this is going to be 1. Pretty sure that's going to be 1. I'm confident this is going to be 1. Probably whoops. And this one. Yep, I think that's the route I'm going to go right there. Those 5 ribbon. So in that order. No. In that order. So we're going to start with the 2.5. All right, so we're going to make a bow. And we are going to make a 6-inch loop here. So this big honking bow, we're actually going to attach underneath our pumpkin. I don't know why that insists on coming off that spool. Just, I think, because it wants to be a PIA. I might actually use some pipe cleaners for this. I'm going to put 2 pipe cleaners together. And I'm not going to mess with trying to straighten this out right now. I'm just going to get my tails going in the right direction. Bring our swag back over here, and this is going to fit right underneath our pumpkin. Don't mind the avalanche off the camera. It's just all my ribbon falling over. And now we can get our ribbons kind of in order and placed a little bit better. I really appreciate the way gingham will do like a natural curve to it and a curl. So, you know how you run that through your fingers kind of thing. It really fluffs up very nicely. And of course, our little feet, once he gets in an upright position, those will dangle down off to the side. But we're now going to actually repeat that process and add a small bow along in here off to the side and one on top. So let me put this guy off to the side for a moment. Oh my goodness. Now these 2 bows I'm actually going to use the Bow Dabra for, but they're not going to be quite as elaborate. They're not going to have all of those colors in them. So we're just going to use, and this one doesn't need to be super big. Because this one will go kind of in the center next to our scarecrow. All right, so there's one, and we're gonna make one more bow, and we'll use some of the other ribbon that we used in our original bow. So we're just kind of mixing up the smaller bows. But still using ribbon that we started out with and the large bow at the bottom. Okay, so this one is going to go at the top of our swag. Which is getting very, very heavy. I will probably cut some of these tails back because I don't need them quite that long, and we don't want to cover up our sign, of course. So that's why I wanted to leave this space up here at the top so that I was able to attach this to the rail. And I'll worry about trimming up the back of this after it's completely done. So now I can go and trim. So that's our top bow. Now we're going to add this one right next to our scarecrow. In that general vicinity. And of course, I will trim him up as well. One thing I really liked when I chose the scarecrow too is the fact that he is such a lighter color. So the contrast with all the remaining fall colors, I knew it was going to be a nice complement because it contrasts with the traditional fall colors and he would pop out. So sometimes I find myself back in the day, and I've gotten so much better at it, of being too matchy-matchy, right? So I was trying so hard to make sure that everything was coordinated. It was to the point of error in my eyes, to where it just blended in together rather than really make that statement. And of course, I definitely don't want to cover up our sign on this one, so I'm trying to manipulate my ribbon appropriately so that it doesn't cover up our sign. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Now, and now, look at him. So we're going to add a little bit of greenery and a little color here and there. So like right behind, I want his hand sticking out, like behind our bows, we can add some foliage and bring out even another element of this. I'm going to start down here at the bottom. And then of course, any place that I can find to glue to, I'm going to wiggle that around so it gets a good seal around there. Hopefully without any significant burns tonight. I still haven't healed from the last 2 burns. So I just want to put that little hint of fall back in there. Just kind of like making its little appearance. I can't wait to get him in an upright position so his legs stand still, right? I don't really want to add a pick to him. I'm going to use one of these to extend him. And I don't want to add a steel pick because I just know somebody is going to stick their hand inside that swag and cut their finger with a steel pick. I'm just saying. So I will use some floral tape, attach this to that, and give me a little bit more length. I don't need quite that much, but and yeah, you can just add as much or as little as you want. So obviously the more elaborate you go, definitely the higher asking price, right? All right. The only disadvantage to this angle is that I can't hold it up and show you the entire thing, but we'll give you a scanned view, right? So from the bottom up, we did the larger ribbon with the long ribbon tails. We've got our dangly legs, which I kind of like the way that they just kind of naturally flow. So wherever they land, they're gonna land, right? And then we go up to our fall pumpkin, our scarecrow, our fall sign, all the different foliage, and then of course our sign. And this started out with that 22-inch work rail form. So it gives you an idea on what you can do with one of the work rail forms. And again, you can make it as elaborate or simplified as your taste allows. All right, guys. Well, hopefully you picked up a few tips from this tonight, and let me know when you make your next rail. I'd love to see pictures. Have a great night, and we shall see you soon.